Hello, my name is Jody Cripps. This is my name sign. I am from Clemson University, located in South Carolina. We're here as part of a collaboration with Martha's Vineyard TV and Martha's Vineyard Signs Then and Now. So we're really excited about this project. So hello, this is Joan Poole-Nash. I'm going to ask her some questions.
Hello.
Greetings. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm good too. The sunshine is nice.
Isn't it beautiful? Yes, the weather's finally nice.
Okay. You were born on Martha's Vineyard, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, I was born on Martha's Vineyard in the hospital at Oak Bluffs. Actually, all of my family was born at that hospital.
There's no hospital here at Chilmark, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, Oak Bluffs is the only one.
So you grew up here. What did you do on the island? What did it look like? What was it like growing up here?
Growing up on the island, I loved to play outside. I loved the fall, the trees, the land. I also was a big reader. I loved books. In second grade, I got this book about Helen Keller, and I brought it into the classroom. I had to hide it under my desk so that the teacher wouldn't see me reading it during class. But it had the fingerspelled alphabet, ABCs, and so I taught myself the fingerspelled alphabet, and I went to my great-grandparents' house, and I was so proud of myself, and I showed them what I had learned, and they said, "Oh, that's nothing. We know the ABCs in a different way," and they showed me this two-handed manual alphabet, and I was just so surprised that my great-grandmother knew both alphabets right. And I didn't even know that there was two of them, and so I didn't ask her where she learned it. I just assumed it might have been a Native American alphabet or from the Scouts or something, but it became our kind of secret language with each other. And later there was a rubella outbreak, and they had a camp on the island for children with cerebral palsy. Yes, it still exists here today. And the kids would come to the camp and they would use sign language, and they taught me. And of course, I was using MVSL, Martha's Vineyard Sign Language, which I didn't know at the time. But these kids were all coming from other schools in Massachusetts, where they were primarily oral schools for the deaf. And so while the families and the parents and the children were teaching me sign language, and really from that experience is how I decided to become a teacher for the deaf, and that was my path.
I see. Well, how did you learn to sign? Were you self-taught? Or did you see it, experience the language on the island?
Well, I was initially self-taught, and of course my great-grandmother did teach me some, but I also learned from an ASL dictionary. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was a book with a bunch of signs in it. And
that was here on the island?
Well, no, actually, I had to order the book from a bookstore in Boston. So I had to order the book, and so then I was able to teach myself from that. And then I also, after that, went to boarding school. So the boarding school where I went, you know where Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire all meet? The boarding school was right there, and it was very close to the Vermont School for the Deaf. And so, of course, I got involved with the Vermont School for the Deaf. So I went to volunteer there in the 4th grade classroom, and all of the students there were making fun of me. They said, "Oh, you sign like a baby." And that's when I kind of realized, that the sign language that I used from Martha's Vineyard wasn't as specific. It was more of a simplified way of signing, like the sign for car and horse were just much more simplified than the ASL signs. And so the kids I think we used a simpler version.
That's interesting. So did you study Martha's Vineyard Sign Language ever?
Well, I went to Boston University, and at that time, sign language had only just been recognized as a true actual language and not just hand gestures. So there they had this group called the New England Language Society, and I joined the group. I was just 19 years old, and when I went to their meeting, the people there were talking about how interesting it is that older deaf people and younger deaf people sign differently. And that's the same as in spoken language, really, how that progresses. And so I thought, oh, that's why my great-grandmother used so many different signs, and the Martha's Vineyard Sign Language was so different. So I talked to the group there, and I invited them, they're all professors, right? And I'm just this kid, but I invited them all to come to the island and meet my great-grandmother. And so they all came, and they brought video recording equipment, and none of the professors knew how to use it or knew how to sign. So it was just a really interesting time together. And of course that recording wasn't great at the time, and then it also just got left and deteriorated over time.
So now what are you doing?
Well, I'm recently retired.
Congrats.
Thank you. And my plan is to finish the dictionary, the sign language dictionary.
I see.
And, well, a lot has happened in the life of this project. So in trying to get this book together years ago, I filmed a bunch of presenters in sign language, and I gave all of the cassettes and recordings to the library, and unfortunately it's all disappeared. No one can find them. And so that happened. And then in 1994, I had some materials gathered in a book that I had created, and I went to a symposium and gave this presentation. And as I was chatting with participants after the presentation, the materials got taken. They disappeared. So this project has had some stumbling blocks, and I'm trying to gather more information.
Do you still have the information, the originals?
So what I have are some original recordings on CD, but of course I don't have any way to play that.
I see.
And then also VHS, which I also don't have a player for.
We need those recordings transferred and preserved.
Yes, yes, for the historical value, absolutely.
Gosh, you're a real archivist. You have collected and gathered these things over the years. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for coming to chat with me. What's your vision for the future? What do you want to see regarding sign language here on Martha's Vineyard?
Well, COVID has really changed a lot of things for me, and I feel like the momentum and the progression we had was kind of stifled.
I understand.
But, there's so many people and so many wonderful ideas that we want to preserve and to continue. And so I just need someone to take the reins.
Yeah, I understand. Well, gee, I'm willing to work with you. We can work together on this and get this moving again.
That would be great.
Great. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to see you again and in person.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Great.
The vision of MV Signs Then and Now project is twofold: to spread awareness of Martha's Vineyard's almost 300-year-old sign language legacy, and to provide hearing vineyarders tools to develop a shared signed language using basic American Sign Language signs and fingerspelling to bridge the various communication gaps that often separate hearing and hard of hearing family members and friends, as well as those with voice problems or developmental challenges, and simultaneously eliminate feelings of isolation and stigma. It also provides similar communication tools to business people, health and wellness professionals, and caregivers, so as to better accommodate and welcome our year-round deaf and ASL signing visitors and tourists.